Hey there, lovelies. I thought I'd make one of these little walk and talk videos for you, and I'm actually starting in the town. It's cold here, but most people don't know that there's this kind of hidden well that's kind of treated a bit like a sacred well here in the town. Town has kind of given itself over to the alcohol economy and so on. And I thought at some point I'll make either a series of photos or videos kind of showing the little sacred places of the town, and hopefully kind of maybe lure one or two of you to kind of come visit a bit more, change the energy a little bit, because it seems to be sliding into that kind of very particular kind of alcohol capitalism around the town itself. But then the nature and the kind of the underlying spirit here is absolutely incredible, but it's kind of subsumed behind this layer. But yeah, it's a funny thing, this well, because what you get is you get people kind of permanently staying in vans and things near it, and then at times we try to kind of make it beautiful and put candles and dress it, and things. But somebody always comes and destroys it, which is interesting. If you try to do tree dressing and things like that, then there's people who kind of keep a lookout to make sure that that kind of expression isn't happening, which I find really interesting in a town that has this reputation for supposedly being alternative and so on. But as I say, it's kind of, I think those days are kind of over at the old level. But it's time for us kind of who live amongst it all, but still kind of keep the heart of practice and life kind of thing to kind of assert a little bit, but not in a overly demonstrative way, but just quietly kind of getting on with it. So if you're interested in seeing some of that stuff, let me know. As I say, I'm walking through the town. The town is behind me there. I'm making my way out, and I thought I would finally kind of get around to kind of answering that question about boundaries today as well. And before I get into that, how are you doing? I hope you're really, really well. I'm very gratified that the last video actually got such a beautiful sort of set of responses. The kind of stuff we share in this space it's only going to ever hit a few people, and I guess with on the YouTube and like on a podcast and things like that, if we kind of share some of this material on the podcast, there's a balance to be found, because we don't live our lives to be content creators. I realize this. I was feeling very stressed with everything recently, and realizing that these things exist, like the podcast, the YouTube or whatever, but then it almost feels like there's a demand on us to turn out stuff of value and information and make content. And I'm not here for that, actually. None of us are, actually, if we think about it. We're here to live our sweet, simple lives. So I thought one thing I'd like to introduce more onto this channel is, these days they call it slow living, but kind of I've always called it authentic living, just living authentic, simple lives. One of the things I see with a lot of the kind of slow living channels and so on is how people have whole days to themselves. I don't know about you, and there seems to be just like you don't know how it's funded or anything like that. I work, I'm teaching later on today, and I have a job within literature that I do as well, and so on. And so all this sharing and other stuff kind of comes from my sort of creative expression, and but very often there's not enough time for things. So that's an interface that I feel like I want to explore a little bit more. We're just going to walk down to this little local woods that I like, and and then go along, just go along down there. It's by the train tracks, but most people in the town don't know it. It's one of my hidden spaces again, so I'll show you that as well, actually. So yeah, I don't know what I'm saying there. Kind of this, I don't want to sort of brand myself as a slow living channel, but it is something I've been thinking about more and more and more, is the necessity to live a kind of sweet, simple life, as it were. And that's the kind of message that comes through my practice to me anyway. We're heading off now from the noise of the town. We have some allotments down here, don't think you can see, over the wall there, and then we've got some of the canal boats on this side. Very lovely, actually, this stretch of the canal. And as you kind of just head out of the town centre a little bit, it kind of you know, the countryside stuff picks up really, really quickly. You're never far from a tree here, and I'll try not mess with the hat too much today. It's cold. It's a little bit rainy. Lots and lots of layers on. Slow, simple being of ourselves, and yet, you know, doing our jobs and looking after our families and being there for each other and so on as well, and you know, having a kind of simple life. And I'm also very interested in kind of you know, interfaces with that. You know, if you've got like you know, sort of intelligence and consciousness, and how all that kind of fits into this stuff as well. Very noisy. I'm taking you on a noisy walk. This is a stonemasons. Amazing place, actually. This has been here for years, and they cut stone for you, and they can pretty much come up with anything, which is really quite remarkable. It seems to be turning into a little guided tour of Hebden. I'd planned this for another series of things, actually, but it just seems to be happening now. And I really love, they're lovely guys, actually. I really love this bit. There's something so profound about stone. Anyway, let's cross the river, and then once we cross the river, let's kind of enter through this portal that's in front of us here, of the bridge, into the world of conversation and being. Look at the moss and the river. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? Let me poo on your expectations now. This is the most polluted river in the UK. Yorkshire Water released raw sewage into this river more than 11,000 times in the last year. There you go. So it looks fab, but often it's a stinker. Oh, it's all been, I don't know what's been going on here. It's really interesting. There's all water running down and things. It might be a bit of a muddy walk, this. I'm wearing the wrong boots, I think. Just need to pick my way through, look. So yeah, be out in a minute. I've chosen the wrong route, haven't I? I should have gone up the hill. Hello there.
Hi.
Muddy, eh?
Bit of a mess, isn't it?
Isn't it? What's going on? There we go. And then we have this, we'll come back on that path. I don't know if my battery will last that long. We'll go down through this little woods of mine first, and then we go through this tunnel here. So this is the spooky route. The sound of running water you're hearing is water actually just running directly along the path I'm walking on. So I expect a bit of a mud bath, actually. So I hope you're good, and thank you for watching the last video and things, and thank you if you left a kind comment and stuff. I really enjoyed that, and I just keep swapping hands because it's a bit cold. And as I was saying in the last video, there was this question about boundaries, so I actually have it on a bit of paper here so that I don't miss any bit out. So let me just have a look so I get it right. So I want to do these things right, you know. And if you do have any questions, then do kind of send them in the comments and things, and I'll do my best. I'm a bit slow, as you can tell. So a question I've had for a long time about love, compassion, and setting healthy boundaries. How do we do both of those things? Did Jesus or any of the spiritual teachers, the great teachers, discuss protecting ourselves and our energy? Did they teach boundary setting? I can't imagine Jesus denying someone access to him by saying, no, I'm protecting my energy. He said, forgive them, they know not what they do. So let's lean into that a little bit. There is a story in the Bible that I seem to recall from my children's Bible when I was a kid. I have read the Bible actually, but my favourite Bible was my kids' Bible. When I was a kid, I loved all the pictures and everything. So feeling into that, seems to be this assumed idea that when we begin to live a spiritual life, and we're kind of even if we're quite early on, there's this kind of mythology almost that the practice should remove our boundaries, as it were. And actually, what we're not realizing is that we have boundaries for a reason. Boundaries are protectors. And so if we come at it from an idea of needing to protect our energy, you almost have to kind of look at where that sensation is coming from. Is that in your feelings? Is it in your mind? Is it, and this is not to guilt you or anything, but just kind of notice where it's coming from. Is it actually in the body, or is it a kind of chirping mind that kind of keeps this protective set of hands out all of the time? And whichever one it is, we just accept that that's the way it is, because the first step with this is to actually become conscious of our processes. So we look where that protective energy or armoring or thought of armoring or movement towards it is coming from. And that will always locate somewhere in the body, if it's real. And we might see that there's all kind of covered over areas and stuff like that we don't want to go into, and all that sort of thing. And it's just important to become conscious of what we're unconscious of within ourselves. Otherwise, we tend to kind of push out and blame others. Now, the great spiritual mistake is this idea that you begin meditating, maybe you even start developing or have some realization of awareness, and that you should then just be able to be around anybody. Crows are a bit grr this morning. Grr, they're normally very friendly. They've just been a bit gurish. And so I come in these woods, I just end up enchanted. Here, look, we're kind of getting into it now. There's this amazing, huge house here that, I won't show you because it's somebody's actual house, but once we get into the woods, I'll show you. So we have this idea that we kind of should just be able to be open. But as I say, we have our boundaries for a reason. So first of all is knowing our reasons, as it were. And we think about, like the Buddha, we think about Jesus, we think about the other teachers. I call them the great teachers because they're the well-known ones, who really made a mark on our history and time in the last few thousand years. There's many other teachers, of course, that we won't have heard of. Do you remember there's a story where Jesus is at somebody's house and suddenly he feels his energy being sucked out of him. And he kind of turns around absolutely wild-eyed and kind of, who took my energy? Who's taking my energy? So he was very aware of his energy. And it turns out there's a woman, and she can't, you know, take it, because the kind of almost like the heat of the situation is so strong. She says, it was me, I'm really sorry, it was me. And he said, all you have to do if you want me is just ask. You know, all you had to do was just come to me openly. There's no need to sneak behind me and steal from me. You know, just come and ask. And if it's sincere, you know, then I'm with you. And I think, you know, for me, this is like, no matter which tradition it is, I'm not putting one tradition over another or anything like that. It's that sincerity that makes all the difference. So even someone like Jesus was aware of his energy being taken from him, and had a very clear protection about how that should be done. And that actually, if we wanted to access him, he was completely open to us if we approach him with our humility and our love and our openness and our authenticity, and we ask. And so I don't know about you, but that's how I think I spoke about it in the last video. You know, when I teach, I've had this question. I've talked about it quite a few times this now. You know, is there anybody I wouldn't teach? You know, what if it's somebody who's done X crime? What if this? What if that? People ask these sort of hypothetical things. Here, look at the woods. How incredible. So literally, you come out of the town, and then you're in this. And it's like minutes, you know. And if you ever come to visit, you know, and you're around and we bump into each other and you say, let's go for a walk, it's very likely we'll do this walk. And my answer is always if the person is asking sincerely. If the person is insincere, or they're coming from ego, or they're wanting to score points on you, or they're just trying to colonize your energy or capitalize on your energy, your money, your you know, your intellect, your emotional insight, whatever it is, if it's a kind of a stealing from you, then obviously you need boundaries. So then the question comes, which is on our lovely sheet of paper from our friend, which is how do you then produce a healthy boundary? So I just want you, as you're listening, to create a boundary in your mind, okay? It's better if I just show you. So create a boundary in your mind, and we'll look at the trees and the beautiful rust-coloured leaves, and feel how, if somebody pushes against that, how there's a kind of reactive aspect to it. Also feel how, if you make your boundary in your mind, or if it's coming from a I'll never let anybody do that to me again sort of clenching of the self, how weak that is. How controllable and manipulable you are, because people will see that energy and know exactly where to poke you to get the rise out of you, to get your energy. And that energy, if they want that, it doesn't have to be in an affirmative way. It can even be your anger, your upset, your tears, whatever, you know. Train's coming. Not down here, but along the we're right next to the railway, you see. The train will come through now. Choo choo. Yeah, so if we try to create it with the mind or by clenching, it's extremely weak, okay? So then, what if we allow our sweet, simple self to be, and we feel that underlying awareness, We feel the life force energy in the body. So this can't be done with the head. One of the big mistakes that we have is that has been pushed for so long is that consciousness is something to do with your head, whereas you have life force in the body. So just feel the life force of your body, and then the part of you that is aware of the life force, that's genuinely aware, we might call that your soul or your kind of your center, you know. So you just come into that bit of your awareness. My battery's dying. Hang on, so it keeps flashing at me. So we might not make it through this video. Feel into that. Now, next time you're in a situation where you feel like somebody is encroaching your boundaries, drop to that place. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be able to go into like the worst case scenario situation, like, you know, 4 days with the family over Christmas or something like that. You know, if you want to know how enlightened you are, what's the saying? Spend a weekend with your parents. But just try this with me now. Feel the life energy of the body, the inner life. See how that drops you back to your sweet, simple self, and almost like the mind doesn't stop, but it kind of rests back into it. The sight improves and clears. The heart opens a little bit. And yet, if I say no to you now, because you're asking something, you know, that isn't the right thing to ask, or you're coming from a place of attack or trying to take in some way that is not appropriate, that's not a natural part of our relationship. It's a kind of a I lose, you win scenario rather than being a win-win or a gestalt. Feel that. Feel that possibility that somebody has come to you in that way. And from the being, because this is the sense of being, notice the no. I'm going to have to jump over this mud here. There we go. Can you feel that? So if I say no to you from that place, wow, it must have really been raining. There's this beautiful grotto, and it's normally so, you know, quite a trickle. But look at it, wow! I've never seen it so full. Actually, like this little pool here. It's normally just like a little trickle coming down and then a beautiful thing, but wow. Rinsing off the mud from my shoes. Right, so we come to the life of the body and we allow for the yes and the no within the body. But watch out for the mind trying to construct that, or for the ego taking over and thinking it can do that. And what you'll find is, if you're new to this way of doing things, is that it comes for a little while, and then you'll be, oh my gosh, I can do this now. And then the ego kind of takes over and it tries to keep on pushing. So you have to kind of start with small bits first. Okay, and it's not that you're learning to sustain it for longer. It's that because we've been bound up in the old ways for so long that actually the conditioning kind of closes back over again. You see, so yeah, and then, you know, if we think about somebody like the Buddha, or the person that they call the Buddha, because historically there's a lot more to that. He, you know, the first thing he did when he was asked to teach, because he didn't want to teach at first. So the first thing to realize is that that he had no intention of teaching whatsoever, and he just thought his realization, he would just keep it to himself, live as long as he lived, live a sweet, simple life, and then die at some point. And only because a small group of his former students who actually wanted to know came to him and said, please, Lord, please teach us, please show us the way. And he felt into that and sat in his awareness and felt that there was if somebody came to you and there was a space in them to hear, that sharing the truth, the path, the Dharma with them would be, might help. But to kind of not try to preach to everybody, because you're just kind of blowing your energy, you're just blowing it, and it doesn't lead anywhere. But you put it out anyway, just in case people can hear a little bit. So he formed his school, I suppose. He said, okay, we'll sit here and I'll share the best I can. I'll try and point at the true nature of conditions and reality, and so on. And some of you might hear. But first thing was a set of rules. Wasn't it 300 and something rules about sexual behavior, about kind of conduct, about kind of adherence to the path and so on. And if you broke those rules, you would be asked to leave the group, the Sangha, as they would call it, or we would call it. I don't know what he would call it. So again, there were quite strong boundaries and rules in place, and people did get kicked out. So take from that what you will, but boundaries have always been there, even with the great teachers and so on. The only person I can think of who really didn't, two people actually, I think really didn't have what we perceive as much boundary around them. One was no, I'm wrong actually. Ramana Maharshi. I won't tell you the entire story of Ramana Maharshi because my battery won't last. But we're coming down the other side now. So this is the river on this side. You've got the train. So we were basically doing a loop around the train line. And when his ashram was set up, everybody was welcome to come, sit with him, talk to him. Everybody could attend. Anybody who felt the urge to attend could attend. But if somebody turned up, like a politician or something, or somebody famous, and they walked to the front of the line of ordinary people to try and get in to see him quicker because they were an important person, he would either refuse to see them or say, go to the back to where you're supposed to be in the line and wait your turn, or you can't come in. So he had a very strong boundary. And then Anandamaya Mai, who I love very, very much, she seems the most boundary-less. But if you do actually read her satsangs and stories of people who were around her and so on, you get people, because she was so beautiful, actually kind of have quite strong sexual feelings towards her. And you would read that actually what would happen in that is, because she actually speaks about this in some of her own accounts, is that she would kind of turn her energy up and the person would literally be kind of buffered away by her control of her own energy. But she would go and sit with people in hospital, talk to them about their aching knees or, her missing tooth and things like that. She would just talk to people normally. But if somebody came on to her, she would turn up the dial. So there was a kind of a strong thing with that. And that's kind of what we're talking about, that process that I showed you of, it's not that you are kind of egoically pushing them away, but you can do that if you need to. But it's far better if we're coming from our own authenticity, our truth, our presence. We come from our actual life energy. And then when we say yes, it means yes. And there's nothing more to discuss. But if we say no, there's no way around it. It's just boom. no. I don't use my no often. Hi there. But when I do, people know about it, as it were, you know, so you can end up with kind of a fearsome Zen teacher reputation because you use your proper no. We've become afraid, of course, the proper no, or we mistake it, we mistake the ego for it. So that's a large part of the work. But the more natural your no, the more natural your boundary, the more awareness-based and presence-based that it is, the more powerful it is, actually. And the more also that you won't get into those situations quite, because you'll see them coming, you know, as you move up through the 4 levels of awareness, as I describe it in the Signpost book, which is cheap on Amazon at the moment, especially the paperback. Please get the paperback. And it's Christmas and all that, presents and things. I described the 4 levels of awareness. It's pretty much what the book is about. As you move up through the 4 levels of awareness, what actually happens from kind of ignorance to kind of seeing from presence in a very true way that's just continuous, and the steps along the way. What you find is that most of the time you see it coming. So somebody will be actually trying to come at you, and you just recognize the energy of it, you know, not in that kind of old defensive broken way, but in a kind of a true clear seeing from being. And what you can do with a lot of it is just simply step out of the way, you know. So yeah, and then if there's something that does actually need you to face it, you'll face it with love and your authenticity, and no is an act of love at that point, you know, for yourself and for the other. So boundaries are absolutely essential. I don't think Jesus gave a specific teaching on boundaries. I do, of course, which we've just done. Our lovely Eckhart Tolle, our friend. Well, he's not a friend, but you know, another one, another person who speaks about these things out in the world at this time, speaks about this stuff in a similar way. Yeah. And if you, even though it's not explicit within, say, you know, Jesus' teachings, and within the Buddhist teachings as a, here, this is how you protect your energy sort of thing, it is definitely there, you know, it's definitely there. Okay, loves, listen, my hand is gone cold and numb with holding the selfie stick. I was a bit more organised today by having the selfie stick. So, lots of love to you. Not quite as jiggly a video today, and I hope that helps a little bit. Lots of love to you. Take care of yourselves. I've got to go and get set up now for class, and I'll be yeah, I'll try and do one of these every week, maybe something like that, you know. So if you do have anything you want to ask, email me or something, or contact through the website, you know, is always the best thing you can do. Oh, it's not the easiest thing to contact through the website. Leave something in the comments here. Do like and subscribe and share and all that sort of thing, because it's good to kind of support each other in this world. And this is not the kind of thing that that the machine supports very easily. So we have to do it for ourselves and for each other. So lots of love to you. Have a beautiful day, whatever you're doing. Practice your boundaries. Try some false boundaries. Try some ego mind stuff. Play with it, you know, and know your own shit, you know. And we'll talk more about slow living and but living a kind of, you know, a more regular life, you know, because while I love all these videos, people living in Hawaii and they've got all day to cycle around and do this, that, the other, I often, the question comes to my mind, well, I come from a very poor background and I have to go out and do a job and I'm exhausted. What does a slow life mean to me? you know. And that's not to take away from them in any way. It's just I can only live my life, can't I? You know. And at the same time, there seems to be awareness here and a path and people to speak to and things like that. How do you do all that? So those questions I'd love to kind of sit with or walk with you, and we can look at kind of some sort of, you know, simple living stuff. I think that's a really good route in simple and authenticity in our living. This is the river again. As I say, beautiful, 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 but sewage, sewage, sewage. Let's not that be the closing words of this video. Lots of love. Let's let that be the closing words of the video. Take care.